and me. So, and if you missed seeing the beach pictures, I will show them again before we say goodbye because that part's pretty fun. Let me see if I can just turn you around. Just there's the hotel. So, before we leave, the quilt behind me is my exploding star that I made 2 years ago here. And I brought it back for show and tell. So I'm very excited to show that one off. But last year I did the Alaska quilt, and I did it with blues and turquoises and teals, and I'm going to show that one too. And then this year we'll be making the sparrow quilt, and I showed y'all how I found a necklace and earrings to match the little bird in the quilt we're making. So I'm excited about that. But I never finished making this shawl. So I thought, well, I could work on this while we're chatting. So how are you? Oh, good. It is a nice room. There are two king size beds. I always just use one, and I try not to disturb the other one so the maid doesn't have to clean. And then I've got, oh, it can't quite show you. Oh, that's right, I'm going the wrong way. There's a little refrigerator and shelf for food and a coffee maker, and then the bathroom and the closet. And they refinished the decor in the room, refreshed it, you might say. And so I used to like, they had a couch in the room, and I will be using that chair. And then there's the outside again. But I don't like always staying in bed, because if you stay in bed, you end up sliding down. So it's like you sleep all the time. This is a one of the Hilton changes. So as I was saying before, the only time I get to stay at a Hilton is if I'm going with getting the group discount because of the activity here. Because even right now, I think it would be a minimum of 155, plus they charge a daily resort fee, not for me now because we get a discount, but a parking fee and a resort fee. I'm not paying $200 a night to sleep anywhere. You know, if I'm going to do that, I'll sleep in my car. So, but it is nice. The one thing I don't like, they have no clocks in the room. So all of a sudden I thought, I better check and see what time it is. It was 20 to 4. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to do a show. So I've asked if they could look for a clock for me, but I might have to go out and buy one because I'm not on my phone. I try not to use the phone. But anyway, I'm at Myrtle Beach and it's lovely here. I mean, yesterday when I left home, we had gotten three 3 inches of snow and some sleet and ice in between. And so when I went to leave, they had not plowed our streets, and we're at the bottom of a hill. So I thought, oh no, what is it going to be like to get out of the neighborhood? But luckily, Mark, he's such a good man. He had shoveled the driveway and the sidewalk and the porch, and so I was able to get out of the house, get into the car, and I could see little air, anywhere that the sun hadn't hit, it was icy. But I just drove very slow and carefully. I used to live in Maryland. I've done snow before. So I just drove slowly and carefully to get out And oh yeah. And that's the thing. If I tried to stay here in the summer, oh my gosh, we're talking $200 to $300 a day. I can't afford that. That's well, I could if I just wanted to use all my money for hotels. But anyway, actually I'll go ahead and tell you because I tell y'all anything. Right now, I tell y'all everything I meant to say. But right now, we're paying 119 per night, which is the most I've ever paid to come to a Myrtle Beach quilt party. But everything has gone up, so it's like, okay, I understand. But I'm lucky. I was nervous that it went up. It is a good deal because no resort fee, no parking, and um, it's a pretty good deal. And I'm happy because Mark said, "Go ahead and stay the extra days." Yes, it went up in price. Don't worry. Don't stress over it. And it's nice because I come up. Everything starts on Wednesday, so I'm coming up here a little early just helps me relax. But once, yeah, exactly. So, and the people, most of the ladies don't come in until tomorrow or Wednesday. So I feel like it gives me a little quiet time. But it also means if I'm going to go out and get a clock, I better do it before the ladies start arriving, or who knows where I'll have to park. Right now, I'm parked right down by the elevator, and that's very nice. I got all of my room stuff put on one hotel big cart. I brought that up last night. Okay, so I drive, and after I've driven an hour, I was out of the snow and ice. Very happy about that. Although I have to be not honest, most of the major roads were reasonably clear, so that was great. And then, so I drove the rest of the way, got here normal time. It was great, and Mark had filled the car with gas for me because I went out to do it Thursday and then found out that the post office was closed. So I came back home. So Mark, when he went out Friday, he filled it for me. So I knew I was okay. I had all my food and water. When I come to these hotels, I don't like going out to eat. I don't know. I just don't. And so I make a big gallon bag of, yeah, exactly. I make a big gallon bag of ham and pasta salad, and that's just something I enjoy. It's my traveling meal. Then I made some homemade rolls, yeast rolls, so I have those with my meals. And I brought a Christmas cheese log and crackers, and then a can of chicken and a pouch of tuna fish, salads, fresh vegetables, peanut butter and jelly, bread. So I bring all of that. So I'm pretty self sufficient. And I brought a cooler with two big bags of ice in it. The cooler stays out on the balcony since it's cold and the ice lasts longer. But in a few days, I'll have to go out and get some more ice because I'm so funny. I bring my big mug of water with the Our Time to Quilt logo on it. And I only drink water if it's got plenty of ice. And I don't know about y'all, but I have gone, you have to walk all the way around. This building is like in a big horseshoe, and it's all exterior hallways. And so it's cold. And you walk down to the ice machine and it's not working. So that's my experience in the past. Now, maybe since they did renovations, maybe the ice machine will be working, but I'm not counting on it. So, but otherwise, now our Lisa is coming up tomorrow, and I told her I'd like to take her out to dinner. So maybe like by Wednesday or something evening, after we do our check-in, we'll go out to dinner because I want to take her out to dinner. She's had a rough couple of months, and they aren't even finished rebuilding her home from the damage from the hurricane. So, what was the hurricane? Helene. So, but at least they buttoned up her house, so she's not leaking water anymore. But I'm gonna take her out to dinner, and then while I'm here, another reason I don't like to go out and eat is because every day we have classes all day. They do give us like an hour and a half for lunch, and then they let us out of class like at 4:30, 5 in the evening. But every day they have nighttime activities that start around 7. So I just don't feel like going out and rushing around to try to get something to eat and rush back and do the nighttime activities. There is a restaurant at the hotel. I've never checked about breakfast because I don't usually eat until 3 o'clock in the day. Um, I find it helps my um, type 2 diabetes to do fasting. And so I personally, but check with your doctor. Don't take my word for anything. But my doctor approved me to do this. But I've never been hungry for breakfast. So it's real easy. It's like, hey, I'll just wait and have a light lunch at 3 and then eat a normal dinner. So, because I love dinner. Dinner is my favorite meal of the day. So anyway, but that way I can have my food here and eat and then put my feet up. And one of my blood pressure medicines makes my feet swell when I sit in those sewing chairs. So it's nice to come back, put my feet up a little bit. But anyway, but otherwise, that's pretty good. And I bring 21 bottles of water. Mark counted them. But I have to keep my kidney happy and drink lots of water. But boy, do I sound like an old woman. I am an old woman. But oh, I got to tell you this. So I drove up. I kept trying to get contactless sign in. Well, it wouldn't work. And then, because I wanted to do a keyless entry, so I could just use my cell phone to get in. Well, then I had to get out of the car, and you have to park a good ways away and then walk back in. And you can either walk up these huge stairs to the mezzanine level, or you can ride an elevator. Met a lovely man named Danny who was from London, had a glorious accent. But anyway, went up and signed in, then came all the way, and they put me too close to the elevator. I hear the elevator constantly unless I have the TV on. And I'm weird enough that often I just like it quiet. But water's good. You're right, Miss Mary. And then got up to the room, put the key on the touchpad, nothing. Nothing. Got the other key out, put it on the touchpad, nothing. Went over to the door next to me, ran my key, a yellow light came up. So I finally got my phone out, stood there thinking, I can't leave. All my stuff is right here on the card. I can't go to the way down to the office. So I got my phone out and started looking, thank God for apps. Found the Hilton app, called him and said, I got here and I ran the key and nothing is happening. He said, okay, sounds like your keypad, key reader, battery is out. We will send someone right away. I said, good, because I'm really tired. I've been in the car for 5 hours and now I'm standing here. So anyway, luckily, it wasn't, I called Mark to say, oh, feel sorry for me. I've got all my stuff loaded. My back's killing me. I'm tired and I can't get in my room. And boom, up comes the maintenance fellow, and who was a wonderful man. And I thought his accent was from Jamaica, but he was from Zimbabwe, Africa. And I was like, oh, that is so cool. So I made sure to tell him the parable I love best about stone soup and how that it's so exciting to meet people from England and Africa and just how exciting it makes this country to have all these different peoples together. So anyway, he probably thought, okay, yeah, she's an old woman. But he was so nice. He changed the battery, got me into the room. I was so happy. And then I did a no that I just pushed the cart back out the door and pushed it over to the side. I thought, I'm too tired to take the cart back down to the ground level and put it near the elevator. I was too tired, so I just left it there, which is not me. I'm one of these people that cleans this room before I check out and leave her a tip. So anyway, but I was so happy to get in here last night. And then I hope I'm still you can still hear me. I'm just not sure. But then I couldn't get on the internet to tell y'all I got here safely. So I thought, well, hopefully they won't worry. But it was very nice to get here. Oh, good, good, good. Sound is good. So tell me about y'all. Enough about me. That's all I know. What are y'all doing now? And just tell me what's up. Oh, and Wednesday evening or Thursday, the vendors will be here to start selling. And usually we have about 4 to 6 vendors. So I told Mark, don't be surprised if I buy something. Oh, Joe is making an art quilt. I wish Melton was still here because boy, was her art quilt pretty. But Joe, tell us about your art quilt. What's the subject matter? I love hearing about a farm. Oh, Joe, I love that. That's dear to my heart. Oh, you're relaxing. Yes, where Mary lives, out in the boonies. I don't think you'd want to be being going out and doing much with this weather front. I'll tell you. Whew. Sorry about that. Mm. You had no snow, thankfully. Oh, that's good. That is good. I was wondering how many of you. Polly's here. She's weaving today. Do you remember the beautiful bed runner that she made for her son for Christmas? I hope he really appreciated it. It was gorgeous. Michelle Lang, hi, sweetheart. How are you? Oh, oh, and Michelle, I think you met her, but do you remember Virginia Flippin? She was the one I'd always say, we're traveling here. Where's a good place to eat? But she passed. She was 84. She passed in December. Oh, great. But anyway, I put I know. I'm surprised to see me too. I didn't do the show yesterday because I knew I'd be traveling in icky weather. So I didn't want to take a chance on not having it scheduled. And as it was, I left an hour later, which was good because it had a chance for the sun to melt some. Oh yeah, she Virginia was a nice lady, and I met her here my first year, which was in 2012, and she's the one that told me about the Denton retreat. So I'm at the Hilton in Myrtle Beach, and it's real nice. I was telling them that's the only time I stay in someplace that fancy. Let me tell you, I have to have a discount. I have stayed in some wonderful places. I stayed one time, I went to the last Jenny Buyer symposium and stayed at the Marriott on Hilton Head Island, something like that. Oh boy, that was nice. It's coming along slowly due to blips in your. Oh, I understand. And you know what? It might take you a while, but that's okay. You don't worry. Oh, now what? Oh, yeah, we had about 3 inches at home, and it was layered with a little bit of sleet and ice. So I just took it very carefully. My street was not plowed, but the main highways were for the most part clear. But oh gosh, people drive so good. You're no rush. That's good because that way your creative ideas will kind of flesh out as you're getting to know the quilt you're making. But there was one case where this truck was carrying some huge, must have been like a turbine. It was under tarp, so you couldn't see everything. But this little car zipped up behind him, like, hurry up and get out of my way. And so it took a while for the truck to see because he was right up behind him. So the truck went to pull over just as the guy without a turn signal went to zip around the truck. Well, the guy that went to zip around the truck realized what was happening and had to slam on his brakes. The truck was trying to pull back to not hit, to have this collision. And then he started swerving because of the heavy load on his truck. I was watching this, putting on my brakes, going, I've got to be prepared. There's going to be an accident. Luckily, that truck driver managed to stay in control of his truck and there was no accident. But that stupid driver of that little zippy car, it was kind of funny in a way. He just stayed behind the truck and was like, no problem, no problems. And he didn't try to go around the truck again. So I think he realized if I had made that truck driver crash, I would have been in trouble. That was reckless driving on his count. So, people just need to slow down because it's not worth it. I mean, think of how many, I don't know if I could have avoided. I didn't know what was going to happen. But, we were taught way back in the dinosaur days when I got my driver's license. I got it right at age 16. I was so ready to drive. And we were taught defensive driving. That was the most important thing. And my dad drilled that in my head. And he told me, try to avoid any accidents you can. So I'm very careful. And I've only had one very slight mishap on the road because I don't want accidents. Nope. And I've only had 2 tickets in my life. And that just, oh, it's awful. So my last ticket was 20 years ago. I'm not getting any more. So anyway. So now, Michelle, what are you working on? And you might notice sometime when I try to close my hand, because of that arthritis in that finger, I can no longer close this finger any more than that. That's it. And so, please, I'm not trying to do anything indecent. That's just the farthest I can close my hand. So, your dad was the type who had to be in the front of the line. Oh, don't you hate that? Michelle's doing a scrappy quilt. Oh, Michelle. Michelle makes the most beautiful scrappy quilts. And oh my gosh, she still has a blue and tan quilt that will go down as one of my all time favorites. So I love that. I love it. Yeah, it was. I didn't end up having a hard time getting out of my neighborhood, but I took it slowly. I took it carefully because, with they had not plowed our roads at all, and trying to go up the hill was a little. But I just said, nope, I want to go on this trip. So I've got to get out of the neighborhood to go on this trip. Oh, Michelle, I've told some on here many times, but Michelle Lang is one of the best piecers I've ever known. And I'm horrible at piecing. And that's just, I'm impatient. I don't like to take the time. I'll give you an example. When you make half square triangles, they always tell you to take the square and draw with a ruler, draw a diagonal line across so you'll know how to cut down the diagonals. I don't want to draw on fabric. I hate it. I hate when the pencil makes the fabric drag. And I know you can use a sandboard and things like that. But I take 3 or 4 at a time, fold them in half diagonally, iron a crease in it. Is the crease always exactly on the diagonal? No. But I usually try to kind of fudge it while I'm sewing it. I go, okay, that crease is a little off, so I'll go this way. I just don't have it in me to be that careful. I love to create. I love the goal, the idea. And Michelle is very self-disciplined and very careful. And she makes the most beautiful quilts. And I realize until I could make myself calm down and slow down, I'll never be a good piecer. And I really think that's why I like art quilts, because nobody really knows what it's supposed to look like except me. And I don't have to match intersections. So, oh gosh, I'm a mess. But, with all respect, though, I love it when like Sonia and Michelle, who are such careful piecers, um, I love looking at their work because I wish it just came easier to me to do that. Every quilt I start, I think I'm going to do so good on this so that I could enter it into a show. I get a third of the way in. There's no way I could enter it in a show. So, do you think quilt as you go would work on the sparrows quilt you're making? It does have sashing, but I'm not big on quilt as you go. It has its time and place. I've done bargellos where you quilt as you go, and that's a wonderful method for bargellos. Certain quilts lend themselves to that practice. If it's a quilt where you sew a strip at a time, it's wonderful. But for the sparrows, you have to piece. Let me show you the pattern. For the sparrows, you have to piece. Oh, and Michelle, Jan wrote me an email that I read today, and she has a grandson, and she's so happy. She did not think she was going to get a grandchild. So it's a little boy, and oh my gosh, he's so cute. I'll have to send a picture to you. I wouldn't want to put a picture online because I haven't asked the parents. But oh my gosh, he's so cute. I think he was born in July. So he is bubbly and smiley and happy. So see the way you have to make the block? I guess you could make the whole block, then put batting, then put backing, then quilt it. But I don't like then having to attach the sashing. And I see two ladies over there looking at their room. They might be quilters or quilt teachers. Quilt teachers might come in a little early. But I just think You could do it because it has sashing, but I think it would be a pain. So I don't know. Oh, you know what? Yes, because my our Michelle didn't know she was going to be a grandparent, and then her son, who's 6'7", married the sweetest gal, and who's 5 feet tall, and they had 3 children. Bam, bam, bam. And Michelle was like, wow. So Michelle quickly said goodbye to me in North Carolina and moved back up to Rhode Island so she could be there with those grandbabies. And oh, it's so worth it. It's so worth it. I go through what you used to go through, Michelle, because my 5-year old and 4-year old grandsons are up in Maryland, and I do miss them. I really do. You have a domestic machine. You know, I am no good at quilting with a domestic machine. I learned to quilt on a long arm, and as they say, when you have back and oh, you'll never leave those grandbabies, darling. You'll never leave them. But it's like this. If you have a domestic machine, it's like keeping the pencil still and moving the paper as you're trying to write. So you hold the pencil still and you move the paper. That's hard on me. So from when you have a long arm, you have the paper is still and you write like normal. So for my limited brain power, my limited brain flexibility, that works better. I have ruined a couple quilts by trying to quilt them on domestic machines. And I know I could take all the stitches out, but they weren't my favorite quilts to begin with. So I just need to call it put a period on that sentence and toss them out. This is going to be the year of getting responsibilities off my shoulders. And because I'm not getting any younger, let me tell you. But you can do it. You have to make sure when you do domestic sewing or quilting on a domestic machine, you've got to be able to lay out all the layers. And if you can somehow tape the backing down or clamp it down, then lay your batting, and with batting, lay the scrim side down. So the first thing the needle hits is the soft material, not the scrim. And the scrim is the part that's sprayed on to hold all of the cotton or polyester together. So scrim side faces the backing. You lay the batting out and smooth it best you can. Then what I do when I have made a quilt sandwich is I take the top part, the top of the quilt, the floppy as they call it, and I lay it and smooth it out. Then I take and use curved safety pins and put usually try to leave about one fist's worth of space and then pin around. I start pinning in the middle, in the very center, and work my pins out so you don't accidentally put excess fabric in between pins, which would then end up creasing on you, and it's a mess. So anyway, but the thing you have to do is you have your domestic machine. Take card tables or anything, put all around you. That is huge. I've seen some people take clamps, hang them from little hooks in the ceiling on rope, and be able to lift the edges with the clamps. What you don't want is you don't want that quilt to be sliding off the table, pulling the quilt with it. Okay? I know it is so hard, but there are ways to do it. Michelle Lang uses 505 spray. I don't because I have asthma, but it works really good for Michelle. So and especially if you have asthma or if you're at all worried, do it outside or in your garage with the door partially open and somewhere where you're not having to breathe in the fumes. But if you have enough table space to hold the weight of the quilt, or like I say, the clamps, which are really inexpensive now, you can get them from like Harbor Freight and stuff, and hang them from little hooks, cup hooks or what in the ceiling, come down on thin rope, and that can help hold the weight of your quilt. So that is one way to do it. And just make sure I would get quilting gloves, you know, those wonderful gloves that help you move fabric. I would never do it without quilting gloves, especially with my terrible arthritis. So, and this cold snap that's gone through, oh, my hands hurt. Just to drive down, I had to use a brace on my finger because when I go to hold the steering wheel and that won't bend, it's hard. There you go. Hi, Cheryl Hogan. Pat's on here. Yay. Oh, no, you were great. I didn't know what time to do a show today because I said, well, some people are working. I'm just going to have to pick a time. And I wanted it to be with enough daylight that I could show you outside. So, in fact, I'll probably, let me see. I think it's time. Let me move my crocheting out of my lap. I think it's time to show you outside again. But what was I talking about? That slippery sheet on the machine bed works good too. Yes, that's great. Great idea, Polly. Those, oh, I bought one of those. Polly remembers, I think, when I came home from the retreat and I bought one, and it works really good. And so that helps. Anything to help you move and glide. And you know what you can do? The best advice I can give you is just take some muslin or material you don't really like, make yourself a quilt sandwich that's about the size of a placemat and play and just practice doing that. You can write. If you can take I like to, anytime I'm going to get ready to quilt, whether it's long arm or domestic, I take a whiteboard and I practice E's, I practice O's, C's. C's are important because some of your quilts you have to come up and double back over yourself. So just practice, practice, practice on a whiteboard, erase, practice more. Then, before I do any quilt, I practice the design I'm going to do on a whiteboard because it gets my muscle memory going. And that way, when I actually start quilting on the quilt, it's a little easier. Another thing I've told people before, start quilting the quilt at the bottom of the quilt. People don't often look at the bottom of a quilt. Think about it. When a quilt's hanging, you don't look at the bottom. You're looking up here, top and middle, and you don't, you might glance at the bottom. But if you start quilting at the bottom, then by the time you get to the middle, you're really good. By the time you get to the top, you're amazing. Another thing is to measure the design you're working on. If you're making roses and you make the first ones 5 inches, measure that so when you get to the top, they're still the same size. Because I find personally, I start a pattern and I start it like this. And by the time I get going, all of a sudden it's getting bigger and bigger. Oh, that's great, Polly. And I tell you what, she's wonderful. She can switch back and forth between a domestic and a long arm like that. And I'm like, how does she do that? So she's got an amazing brain. That's got to be it. I'm now going to take you outside. Okay. All right. Let's go see what the world looks like outside the room. Whoops. Oh, there were people fishing, I think, today. So there's the ocean and a nice pier where people have been fishing. And then here's the hotel. It's like a big horseshoe. And last year when I was here, they were building all down in the center courtyard. Now it's a huge pool and the slides. I do not know how in the world people get on those slides. I was mentally tracing the path, and I thought, no way, no how. But it's too cold to get out there. There is an indoor pool right down under that part right there, but I'll see. But anyway, it's pretty lovely. And this is my deck, and there's my cooler, keeping the ice colder than I could in my room. The refrigerator is so tiny, it doesn't even have a freezer section anymore. They don't even pretend to give you a freezer section. So there, you got the nickel tour. But oh, it's so good to spend this time with you. I tell you, I love spending my time with you because the bed was very comfortable and I kept dozing on and off. And it was like, nope, get up. Let's go talk to the gals. I have not been down to the water slides at all. And I got in last night. I checked in at 5:45. By the time I got in my room, because of the door mishap with the card reader not having a dead battery and getting somebody up here to fix it, it was well after 6. And by the time I took my breath, it was almost 7. So I've taken a very slow morning, very slow. But I will never, ever, 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 I'll tell you right now, never, ever, ever will I go to on the water slides. Never, ever, ever. Don't even wonder. The temperature here is probably about 40. And it's still cold enough that there's ice in the pool because the night times get pretty cold. But I think today was supposed to be 40, 42. And it's been cloudy almost the whole day. So I don't think that it's really gotten too warm. But luckily, they didn't get the ice and the snow and the sleet that we did further up north of here. So, but I tell you, it's nice. It's nice to be here and relax, and it's really nice. I guess that would be chilly for Arkansas girl. So compared to home and what it's been, I mean, y'all know anybody north of Mississippi has been freezing, but the snow was it was lovely. Last year or the year before, we got no snow at all, and we've only had one or two in the last 5 years. So yes, in fact, what's the weather like in Michigan, dear Cheryl? Oh, Polly, it was so good to see you. I will. I'll have plenty of stories and pictures to show you when I get back. See you, Miss Polly. I'm going to clean my room so you can come over again. I promise. Keep on weaving, Miss Polly. Thank you, hon. You're the dear. Mm. So, speaking of deer, oh gosh, I saw down the road. Can you see the waves? Oh, yeah, I didn't show you the waves long enough. Yes, the way this room, it's on. Okay, picture a horseshoe, and the ocean's here, and so all I have to do is look at an angle. I love the fact that this hotel was designed this way because it gives everybody a chance to see. 20 degrees. Ooh, ooh. Mark and I love watching Highland Hills. It's a ski resort and small little, well, it's not a resort. It's a little ski complex in Minnesota, Bloomington, something like that. And we love watching it because we love watching the kids do the snowboarding and they're amazing. And boy, it was cold. It was like 2 degrees there the other day, and there weren't that many kids out there. It was like, okay, it's too cold even for the kids to get out. So, oh, yeah, that's a good question, Mary. How much snow did they get? I think my daughter got about 6 inches. My son got 6 inches. My daughter might have gotten about four, and then us in North Carolina got about three. Okay, okay. But it's so funny. Every time I complain about summer, I think, Deb, be careful because it's going to be winter. Well, it is, and I still complain. So, anybody else working? We've got Miss Joe who's working on. I need to go check out Angela's YouTube. I was telling Mark because most of our TV watching is spent watching YouTube channels. We've got about a dozen that we follow regularly. And I said, what if YouTube just didn't exist anymore? Do y'all realize that next month I'll have been doing this channel for 8 years? So, right around February 18th is my 8th year anniversary. So, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. And most people have no idea my little channel is even here. But it doesn't, what it matters is it matters to me and my heart. So, because I did run a local group for 9 years, and before I moved down here, I was president of a couple groups. So, trailblazer. That's being very kind, Miss Joso. I watched a couple things and thought, I've got something to offer, which is that I'm not perfect. And I'm going to show you how to make a quilt. And there's going to be lots of bumps along the road because some people make it look too easy. Regal Rose, yes, there is a pattern. Go to Yellow Rose of Texas, I think, quilt shop or English paper piecing. They had the one that I've been working on, and they've got a brand new one for this year. I'm supposed to be starting as soon as I finish the one I'm working on. But Yellow Rose of Texas. Then there's another company called pa- Paper Pieces. Hold on, let me peek at my email. I just signed up there. I think that one's going to be a little more expensive, but Yellow Rose is pretty inexpensive, so I like that. Now let me see. Go to my email. Oh yes, it is in that one is actually in New Hampshire. Yeah, New Hampshire. And oh, we still watch that too. At Christmas, we watched a special show. Okay, let me see. Paper Pieces. Let me see. I'm going to bring them up, and Paper Pieces at paperpieces.com. But they might, oh, there's a pretty one you use, long diamonds. It's really pretty. I'm a huge fan of English paper piecing now, because the older I get, the less I want to sit at a sewing machine all day long. So, and plus, I'm thinking if Mark and I downsize and come closer to the coast, I would like a way not to have too much going on. And then when I traveled, I'm still hoping to travel the country. But the skating rink we watched was called Old Pooh. I think it's in New Hampshire, and it's at an old village museum. Ah, see, that's brilliant, Regal, because honest to goodness, it is, and it's nice because you can sit in your comfortable chair. I have to have something. No, I'm not leaving the site. Okay, cancel. Um, I have to have something to keep my hands busy. When Mark and I watch TV in the evening, I can't just sit there. I would lose my mind. And there's not that much left to lose, trust me. But English paper piecing is so simple. Here I was cleaning up my table area. I'm one of these people. Mark says I have little piles everywhere, and it's so true because usually I have lots of things going at once. And my favorite way to paper piece is oh, here it is. My favorite way to paper piece is to use glue sticks. And you don't have to use fancy glue sticks. There is a kind of glue stick, So Line, that I really like because it sticks so fast and it holds. But you can pull it away later. But I, I, I let me see. I didn't put my glue stick in here, but I've got the little refills, so I can just use that. And then I've been using from Superior Threads, So Complete. I have been using this, and it's a very strong but lightweight, 300 yards. It's 100% polyester, so it's very strong. Use top stitch needle 8012, but I use it by hand because it's very delicate but strong. And I like my stitches to disappear. I like either using um, Thread Heaven or the new kind, or I like um, Thread Heaven or beeswax. And then I use applique needles. I keep them in a wood. I love these wooden holders because they make sure that the needles don't rust. And then favorite. Here is my favorite um, thread cutter, seam ripper, pardon me. We bought this years ago, like 18 years ago. Went to a quilt shop, and evidently they knew of someone who um, made these beautiful barrels. And it finally, I was afraid to use it because I didn't want the seam ripper to go dull, and it finally did go dull. We looked up and found new stainless steel ends for the seam ripper. So we were thrilled. And so now I have several of them, so I'll never run out. And we still, oops, I found my glue pin. Oh, this is another good thing. Keep fray check handy. This is so good. Now, why they had to put this on it? Do not put an eye. I guess they had people think these were eye drops. Oh, what a sad thing. I don't put this in your eye. Gosh, I feel like people are foolish anymore. Now, this is the pen I use, but I use the other. Um, but oh, in fact, this needs a new glue stick put in, and so I will be doing that. But the glue sticks are pretty easy to put in. Oops, I saved these because they're great to give out as little needle cases. If you have a friend you want to share a needle case. Oops, I must have quite a few empty ones here. Let me see. I want to show you what the glue looks like. Okay, it has this little silver end. So you take the glue stick, and now how did that get so chewed up? Hmm. Because what you do is you put it, I don't know how that got so chewed up. Let me see if I can get this one loaded then. Huh. I have no idea how that happened. But I take the glue stick. Sometimes it will run out of usable glue, but there'll be like a quarter of an inch of glue still in the bottom. When that happens, well, I'm going to have to smooth this out first because it's not letting me load the new one. But let's say that there's a problem. Then you know what you can do? Go get Crayola glue sticks. They work just fine. And here are all my information sheets. And then what I do before I start the process, oh, never mind. Here's a good glue stick. I can show you now. Oh, good. And there's a whole new pack of the Sew line. I love those glue sticks. My favorite thimble. You can put this in a cup of hot water, put it on your finger. It will size itself to your finger. Really wonderful. I like using the clips. You can put the two pieces of paper that you're going to sew. You can put them together like this. Hold it with, and then just do whip stitches along the edge. Here is a glue stick with a tube of glue in it. Now let me see. Oh yeah, I still got pretty good on this. But even when I can't use anymore, it's gone up as far as it's going to go. And then it kind of, wow, that's a new one. I'm not going to take that all the way out. But when I get them out and there's still some glue inside the little holder, I'll just squeeze it and get that glue out because I don't waste a thing. And so there we go. But so this is a good glue stick. And the glue sticks in the package I get come in white, yellow, and pink. That way you can, if you want to see the color. And here I have, like this is for block 16. Here are all the paper pieces cut out. I do my own because they're very expensive. I think they're ridiculously expensive. And what I do is I print on cardstock. Make sure you print it true to size. Don't let your printer adjust in anything on the size. I print them on cardstock and then sit in the evening when I'm watching TV and cut out. And I will a lot of times put them in Word so I can put the pieces real close together and not waste anything. Oh, Michelle, you're leaving. Bye, sweetie. Mwah. No snow in Rhode Island? I'm shocked. Wow. But thanks for joining us. Our dear Michelle is the whole reason I started this. She moved and I missed her. She was a wonderful friend. We sewed together every week and I missed her. So I said, well, I'll start this channel and have some other sewing friends. And she's been great. I love seeing her. But so Sew line gluing sticks from a few years ago was told to keep it in the fridge. I wonder. They were probably thinking to keep it from changing, drying out. Just make sure anymore, if I store something in the freezer, I would say put it in several layers of plastic bags because the refrigerator is really good at drawing out moisture and you're probably going to, might slow you down. But I've learned, I've learned that don't stock up on glue sticks because they will dry out even in the package after a certain number of time. Y'all are so sweet. So I'm not going to I can't do a show and tell because I would need the other camera to do that. So I figured we would just get together here and talk. And, but I wanted to show this to, who was the person? Was it? Yes, it was Regal Rose. These are pretty complicated blocks, but doing it English paper piecing is really simple. And if you have any questions, I don't like hexes either. And I know at some point I'm going to have to make a hexie. But the problem is this. Portsmouth, yes, Strawberry Bank Museum. Yay, good job, Mary. And they had what they call the Courier and Ives skaters. And they had one who was an Olympic skater. And she was in the group. And she was still amazing. Still amazing. But English paper piecing is pretty straightforward. And what you do, a lot of times the pattern will kind of show you, kind of give you hints as to how to put it together. Some you start in the center and work out, but some it's better if you work on like a quarter of it. But I'm a huge fan. Mare is here. It is so good to see you, Mare. And so that's kind of what we do. But I am glad we started off with Meltem saying she was felt so bad for the California, the Los Angeles people who are having to go through those horrible, horrible fires. I don't know when we're going to get the whole message that we need, that the whole climate problem is very real, and it's trying very hard to get our attention, and we're not paying attention. And my big fear is we're running out of time to help turn things around. This is a beautiful planet. I was driving yesterday thinking life is beautiful and the planet is beautiful, and we need to start taking care of it and stop trying to constantly make excuses why it's not real, because the signs are all around us. So let's just love each other and love our planet. That's all I can say. Ooh, Cheryl, modern modernistic stars, free English paper piecing. Ooh, oh, I love that. I love that. Okay. So, yeah, if do me a favor, and if you find some free English paper piecing patterns, um, let me know. And now they do sell templates. I have mixed feelings about the templates because if you have a template, they're expensive. Templates always are because the kind of acrylic that they use to make them are expensive. And one thing to remember too is that to have, if you have an idea of a ruler you want to have made, to get it made and turned out is a very expensive proposition. It has to be engineered and all of this, and it's very expensive. So I do understand why they're expensive. But also, then you would have to take the template, put it on a piece of cardstock with ink, an ink pen, and draw all of them and fit them in tightly. I love it where I just go and look up um, what you like. If you've got a long diamond, how they measure it is by the one flat side. So if it's a square, one flat side. So if it's a 1 inch square, each side is 1 inch. If it's a 1 inch diamond, then each side is 1 inch. Um, I like going online and looking for free um, paper piecing templates to print, to download, or printable. And then I like to go ahead and make my own. You know what? People are starting to come in here. I think others have had the idea to come a little early too, because there's a whole lot more rooms that are now inhabited than when I first. This this scene out the window reminds me of Rear Window. Remember the Hitchcock movie Rear Window? And it's like, oh, if you sat here and watched people, but it's not the same as if they live there. You can cut out your templates even with your scan and cut. Oh, or Cricut. Now that might be enough of a reason for me to go ahead and purchase a Cricut. Wow, wow. Paper Piece gives you 3 different templates and you can print or trace. Okay. Because I like to I like to put them real close together, and that makes them easier to cut out as well. I'm frugal too, and I have so many interests too. Let me see. Okay, y'all can write on what kind of things do you do? I don't knit. Handling two knitting needles is too confusing for me, but I crochet. I crochet with fine thread too, not just yarn. I weave baskets. I paint. I draw. I quilt. I art quilt using many media at once, which is fun for me. I make curtains. I make clothing. I make costumes. I trying to think of, I just saw, I forgot what site or when, but there's somebody on there making the buttons. Remember the buttons? You take a ring and you weave a button, Dorset buttons. I did something on here about that. Somebody's now teaching it. And I'm like, oh man, if I knew there was a market, I'd have taught it. But I make Dorset buttons. I do bobbin lace. Trying to think. I love to paint bisqueware. Um, I do work with clay, so I can do coil clay. I don't know how to do one on a potter's wheel, but I can sculpt. There's so many. I mean, oh my gosh, you name it, I want to do it. Oh, that's a great idea, Cheryl. In fact, when I'm here, I'm going to look. We have what's called a yard sale night where you can put things on a table to give away, where you can sell things, supplies, or things you make. And so I think I showed y'all it's down in the car, but I made a binder, put all of the iron on decals, which is what I'm doing now. All right, sweet Joe, take care. Bye, sweet Joe. Thank you for moderating today. So, oh, Rear Window is a good movie. I just watched Spellbound the other day, and that's with Gregory Peck and Gregory Peck. Oh, and that beautiful woman with a German accent, Bergman. Oh my goodness, that was a good movie. Silversmithing, Cheryl. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Oh, and I've always wanted to do glass blowing, but I can't handle heat. So I said, well, that's not something I can do. But I've thought it's too expensive. But the glass bead making, I would love to do that. But it's very expensive because you have to have an annealing oven and a torch, and the glass itself is very expensive. So, you'd like to make a cuffed hooded shawl by Leisure Arts. Oh, huh. I made one. Mary, hold on. I'm going to go get it because I brought it with me and I'll show it to you. Hold on. Okay. This, I still have the pattern for this, Miss Mary. Okay. Let me see. What I did to keep it from falling off. So here it's like this. I put a button here to hold it, but it looks like my head's so big I need to put the button down lower. But I put a button here. Let me get it undone. But here, and you can put it back like this if you want. And what's neat is you turn up the bottom edges and it acts like gloves. So you can have this on and have your hands tucked down in it. So let me see if I can find it for you. But it was fun and easy. I used a chenille yarn and it was fun and easy to do. In fact, no, I didn't make one of these for each of my girls, but let me see if I can find this. And if I can, I will send it to you. So, yeah, I love the idea of, because I don't always think to take my gloves, and so I can tuck my hands in the end of it. So, well, guys, I think I'm going to get ready to go. It's been a busy last week, and Mark's got the house to himself now, and now that he's retired, I told him, don't forget and go to work. You are retired. I told him that his job is to keep the couch from floating away. So, all right, good. Yes, let me see if I can find that. I'm pretty sure I can. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you for sharing. Silversmithing. Cheryl, you just amazed me. Oh, she does glass beads and has her own studio. I always wish I had done pottery and used a potter's wheel. But I have a terrible back now. There's no way I could do it. But oh, I wish, you'll always think that one day you'll have time to do it, but then your body gives up on you. Miss Miss Pat, it's so good to see you, sweetheart. I love to learn too. In fact, have you heard of the Johnson? Oh gosh, there's a folk art school on the border of North Carolina and Tennessee. And I'm trying to remember what it's called, but oh, that would be a dream to go there and just try stuff. So I love y'all. We have so much, all of us have so much in common. Well, take good care. I will see you. I'm not sure when because I'm not doing a show Sunday. I'm driving home that day and it's too much to try to drive home. In the old days, I would try it, but every year catches up with me more and more. So, y'all take good care of yourself. Have a good week. Please stay warm and send me photos to my Hour Time to Quilt at twc.com site, and then I will show them. Thank you. And I'm going to take tons of pictures. We got lots of show and tell, so I'll take lots of photos for you. All right. Take good care. Thank you. Oh, hi, Miss Mitty. Oh, it's so good to see all of you. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Have a good week. Do something just for you. Bye bye.